don't know if I'm actually going to post this or this is just a note to myself, maybe. feel vulnerable here on my fucking on my bed couch with my little fucking rainbow. My little rainbow pillow is my daughter's, actually. I always go to sleep on it. I'm praying for that little girl, so she don't have to go through the kind of shit that I did when I was a kid. If you do what you always done, you get what you always got. This is a big concept for those of us in recovery, or those of us more generally, I think, on the healing journey, specifically with family dysfunction, toxic patterns, narcissistic abuse. And especially for those of us who had to spend seasons or our entire life in patterns where, for survival, we had to take care of the other person, to avoid explosions, violence, or whatever the case may be, because that's the pattern we grew up with our parent, who was, unstable, dangerous, unavailable, or whatever the case was. And for those of us who developed from that into addictive patterns in our teens, 20s, and however long that went on, as tough as it was, because most of those patterns, they served a purpose, for a while. They made it so that we could function on some level. And but eventually we have to take charge and be like, this thing is not getting me to where I want to be. It's that. I don't know who it's attributed to, but that definition of insanity is one definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and thinking that we're going to get a different result. It's the same concept. I would define insanity quite differently than that after having the veil ripped off of my fucking third eye with a sledgehammer, and pliers and a flamethrower the last few years. Cluster B disorders, dude. It's another game. It's another game entirely. There's damaged people that just act unconsciously, and then there's children of Satan who takes sadistic pleasure from harming others, and you can see it in the eyes, dude. When you've seen somebody's eyes, the pupil dilate like they're having a freaking overdose on opiates or something like that, but it happens in full consciousness, and it's because they're hurting somebody, or getting on, or like they're watching somebody come to the realization that they've been duped out of, when you see somebody getting their jollies from causing harm, dude, it's not a look you ever fucking forget. You don't ever fucking forget that. And that's much more along the lines of what I define as sanity in this era. And having dealt with that in recent years, and dealing with like nearly a dozen situations right now in courts of law, tied in with people of this sort. They always amp it up, dude. They always amp it up over time. And this kind of falls in with, like, if you keep doing the same thing, you're gonna keep getting the same fucking results, dude. When we've grown up around these kind of people, or when we're in a place where these people like predominate, which seems to be a little bit worse in certain areas. Definitely, I'm kind of on the east side of Los Angeles, but I've noticed a lot of this kind of shit up and down the West Coast, and much worse here in LA. It's like just freaking toxic and unconscious, and a lot of, like, here on the West Coast, there's a lot of like so-called healing communities and groups where people are, supposedly doing the work, and oftentimes it's just a front for abusers. People use the language of therapy and healing and recovery, and then they take advantage of vulnerable people, and people that come in, people that are new, people that are looking for answers, people that are beat up and broken and trying to heal. I've seen a lot of it in recovery. It's really sickening. I don't go to a ton of meetings or anything anymore, largely because of this. It's hard to find healthy communities, healthy healing communities, honestly. And when you've been through trauma, or when you're going through active trauma, and then you up around these people, it's just not a good scene. Luckily, God can heal anything, but yeah, doing it in safe communities, safe partnership, safe relationships is like it helps phenomenally. And at the end of the day, a lot of relationship trauma can only really be healed in the context of other safe and healthy relationships with somebody or people, or a group of people that are like actively healing and really healing, not just using the group as a front for more abuse and for making excuses. I was just chatting with a friend of mine yesterday and earlier today who I know from a few years back here, and she was dating somebody that I knew a while ago, and a whole bunch of stuff came out that I had suspicions about back then, but didn't know for sure. And hearing some of this stuff, it's like, sweet Jesus, man. Sorry if that might be a little bit loud. My other phone. But anyways, it's a tricky. Got a new hand painter. She reminds me of Multi Martin, dude. If you're into hand pan music, Multi Martin is fucking par excellence. I like this girl too, this lady. Anyways, this is the tricky thing in healing, because we hear things like this. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And a lot of times, ultimately, the onus is on us to heal and do whatever work we need to do. But this often devolves into victim blaming, especially when people aren't aware of how these things work, or have any resources to to start to even try to fucking heal, or people that are very young get shit like this thrown on them when they've only been abused and neglected their whole life up through their teen years and 20s, and all this stuff when our brains are still forming until we're 25. And in an ideal world, they would be in a state of some level of neuroplasticity throughout our lives. Like, we can always learn and change and grow new neuron networks, but when we're impacted by chronic stress, abuse, trauma, etc., and it develops into full-blown things like PTSD, ADHD, like chronic depression, anxiety, other mental health issues, etc. It's a lot harder to alter course and kind of repair things at that point, especially if it's compounded by ongoing trauma, active abuse, not having resources, being in situations, being in poverty, having racial and gender-based discrimination, like slamming you left and right every single freaking day. And there's so many things that affect people that go unnoticed, by society, and until just get over fucking shit like that. These so many platitudes, man, and some things that are like given as wisdom, given as common sense. Like, they can be helpful. They can be helpful in certain scenarios, dude, but like, we need to acknowledge the reality of trauma. It's pretty widespread and way underreported. And even looking at the things they're finding out now about SA and these kind of abuses, like 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 4 boys. Those numbers are pretty close, dude, and it's probably higher for boys. Because most of us were taught not only with that kind of stuff, but with everything, and stuff it down. You don't talk about, like, boys are not given communication skills or even like any way to fucking identify their emotions. Most of us weren't born with any, or weren't raised with any kind of, like, I'm talking about now in the 80s and the 90s, when divorce rates and stuff went through the roof, and being raised by like single parents and like feminism was on the rise and culture was changing so fast, and there's just so much going on, man. But even traditionally, even before that, at least in Western cultures, from the sound of it, it's like there's no instruction on communication, relationship, emotional intelligence. You're like, we're told, we were told, most of us, Gen X, probably boomers, probably the generation before that, World War II, World War One, World War II, you stuff it down. You don't talk about things, you don't need friends, you don't need connections. It's like the whole strong silent type, Even for the men who have good hearts and good intentions, like most of us weren't taught how to deal with any of this shit. And it's just compounded over the years. And I mean, look at the state of the world right now. Men completely out of touch, raging around, freaking throwing tantrums, blowing shit up, dragging us into the next freaking war, the next big one, trying to cover all this shit up. I think the rates of abuse are probably pretty close to equal for girls and boys. I mean, even if it's 1 in 3 versus 1 in 4, it's like 8% difference. And in no way, like, it shouldn't be anywhere near there, regardless. But so often, those people who experience trauma and abuse get blamed for it. They get it thrown back in their face. As we're trying to heal, as we're trying to, like, even recognize what's going on. Just get slammed and fucking torn apart by the people you thought were here to protect you, to help you, to heal you, to hold you. It's a horror show. It's a freaking horror show. Anyways, I know I kind of went sideways with that because I was like, I guess at the beginning of it, it's easy to fall in and start listening to these voices in our head sometimes. That's a voice that I've had in my head a lot, and being blamed for my abuse and everything that was going on in my life as a result of that abuse. And those kind of statements are really big in the recovery community, and there's truth in them. There's a reason why they persist. Like, as adults, if we keep doing the same stupid shit, we're going to get the same results or worse. But as I'm developing my work and working on some books and trying to heal my own brain from freaking PTSD and, like, so much shit, dude. So much shit, dude. It's Hollywood level. It's fucking Hollywood level. It's Hollywood level. And this is a piece of it. Thank you for being here. I'm reclaiming my voice through this so I can help as many people as I fucking can to not have to go through this or to heal if they have been through it or anything remotely like what I have had to. But it's funny because I find myself, as with a couple other friends that I'm like, watching some of the shit that they're doing and going through, and the people that are involved in some of the things in my life, where it's just like, it's almost comical, where especially with the narcissists and the people that are, like, directly involved in some of this shit that's going on. It's like, are you serious? Are you freaking serious? You're gonna do it again. You're gonna do it again. But there's a part of me that's like, I recognize that there's, like, a judginess in that too. That's just like, fuck, humans are, like, we're fallible. Even those of us that have done a shit ton of healing, like years and years of healing, like, we can still fall into these same old patterns because it's like, because the wounds are so deep, it's wired in from our freaking childhood, So I think it's important to have grace and mercy, for ourselves and for other people. Up to a point, if you're being attacked, obviously not. That's not the time to have feelings for somebody. Deal with it. But I know for me, in the way that I work my recovery program, I need to keep my side of the street clean and focus on that, and not what other people are doing. Not so much. I mean, obviously, if it's somebody that I'm connected with on a more personal level, it's then if there's harmful behavior, it's needs to not happen in relationships. We don't do that. But yeah, it's it's a tricky thing, especially being like a man in recovery, because sometimes what we need is just a stiff kick in the ass. Sometimes we just need to boot at our fucking ass to kind of get things together and move in a new direction. And I've seen a lot of that, and sometimes that works. But other times, often, especially, and again, also with men, I haven't worked directly with women as much in recovery settings, but oftentimes what's needed is just softness and acceptance, and hey, I see you, I understand there's a lot of pain there. I see you doing this thing that you're hurting yourself again. What's behind that? What's going on? And so often the people that we're dealing with, people in recovery, have so much guilt and shame and self anger and hatred and abuse left over from freaking childhood. It's easy to just be unaware of these things, of these behaviors, and of the unconscious things that we do to harm ourselves, to sabotage ourselves. And as I've become more aware of trauma, of my own trauma, and of how widespread it really is in the world, the more I lean towards that side of softness. In my dealings with other people, especially, in recovery or not. Caveat, that's in a lot of settings. Obviously, at the same time all this is going on, we realize how many freaking absolute maniac, crazy people there are in the world, running the world in positions of power, and a lot of times you just need much firmer boundaries and just be no, that shit stays the fuck out of my life. That stuff's gotta stay out. It's a tricky world, man. It's a tricky world to navigate. No matter what, things are changing so fast. Society, culture, it's almost impossible for a human being to keep up with all this right now. Let alone if you're going through your own healing process. If you're doing deep healing work, if you're breaking off ancestral karma from 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30 lineages, breaking off all of those on your own, without help, probably from your family, because you were probably the black sheep. You were probably the dumping ground for all your family's bullshit. And as soon as you decided you weren't going to take that anymore, you were cut off. As soon as you decided you were going to heal, they decided to go at it 100x, 1000x. Maybe they declared active war, open war on you, open season, because you weren't gonna sit there and take all their bullshit and their lies and their projection anymore. My heart goes out to you, friend. It's brutal. It's fucking brutal, man. But It is a good bit of Saturn. It's a good bit of Saturn wisdom, and Saturn coming into Aries right now. It seems timely. Just to be like, these patterns, habits, whatever it might be. If you've been dragging these along with you, or if if you've healed a lot of different arenas in your life, and there's some that are still like touchy and raw, this might be a good time to embrace that kind of Saturn wisdom of like, are you going to keep doing this same freaking thing and expect a different result, or are you ready for a change? Are you ready for something different? Are you going to be done with it? Maybe I think that's probably a lot of what I'm feeling right now is both of those energies, because I have a lot of fire in my chart. I have a lot of earth too. My Saturn and Mercury are both in Virgo in the second house, which is ruled by Taurus, so it's kind of amplified. And I have a bunch of earth up in the 10th house, which is ruled by Capricorn, which is associated with Saturn. So very timely themes for me. Combining this with the Pisces that we're in right now. North Node, Sun, Venus, and Pisces, it kind of softens things up. It enhances that energetic, that compassionate. Pisces can be really beautiful, universal love, very, very powerful, oceanic, but it can be incredibly destructive as well when it's operating in its shadow realm, deception and lies and deceit, trickery of every kind, which is part of what we're seeing with this, ending the age of Pisces right now. All of these things with like Hollywood and the lies that, the lies and the schemes and the trickery that covers up the power structures. That's getting blasted off right now. That is, this stuff is extremely triggering for a lot of us who have lived lives in various levels of that realm of what we're seeing right now. I'm talking about with the files, etc. It's fucking hard. It's fucking hard, no matter how much healing work you've done. If you've gone through this kind of stuff, this is triggering as fuck. Every issue of safety and stability. Especially if it was your own parents involved in this, or if your parents knew about it and covered it up. Holding in my heart is sending so much prayers, like angelic love, protection, all the love of God. And you didn't deserve it. And I know for many of us it was hard to trust God. I spent most of my life fucking hating God, hating religion, hating all of this stuff because of abuse connected with that, with the church, with my family, with everything, and with the stuff that I saw and that I called out even as a child, and just got it that much worse for that. It's all fucking amplified, man. It's hard to trust God. It's hard to even fucking believe in God with the kind of atrocity that we see in the world every day. And I don't know. I don't have the fucking answer to it. I don't know why. A lot of times it seems like there is no God, honestly. I know in my heart there is, because I've also seen the other side of things and the miracle and having my life saved by a fucking hair's breadth dozens of times. Way too many. Way too many, because I knew I had a purpose and a calling and a really big fucking mission on this earth. That's only like barely starting right now. And that says a lot, dude, for somebody that's been in recovery already for decades. And even before, when I was using, and before I ever started using, I was always on a spiritual path since I was a kid. I was always like into books on Buddhism and meditation. I was studying martial arts when I was a little kid, deeply drawn to Eastern religions and traditions and philosophy. Even as a teenager, I was reading like Immanuel Kant and things like that. I fucking love that stuff. It's probably a big part of why I'm even alive. But I've been in this healing journey like most of my life, and I only just learned about trauma 2 years ago. It's like, fuck, man. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Sending so much love to all of you guys, wherever you're at in this journey. If you're just starting, if you've been on it for a long time. I know God is real. I know that God is real, absolutely. I don't know why the world is so fucked up. I don't, but I do know that miracles happen, and I do know that prayer works. So keep going, man. If you're in it right now, just please, please, please keep going. This world needs your light, and light can overcome anything. God can forgive anything if you come to Him with a broken heart. It will be forgiven. It already is. God already knows it. He knows the past and the future and fucking everything. If you need some encouragement in that department, if you feel like you've done something particularly heinous, the stories of King David, I don't remember the specific books. I don't think it's First and Second Judges, but it's his story and the stuff he went through with Saul, and then betraying his best friend, one of his best friends, with his wife, and then having him killed, and how that played out through his life and generations of stuff. Like, and David wrote most of the Psalms as well, and his son wrote a lot of the Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. These are really, really good sources to look towards in terms of healing and forgiveness and repentance. And Yeshua talked about it. It was like his whole career was talking about bringing it to God and asking forgiveness and being forgiveness. And I believe that's what those of us who are called into this work, the light workers on the earth right now, the chosen ones, like our ministry is very similar to Yeshua's. And it's rooted in forgiveness. It's rooted in love. And it's rooted in compassion. And we have to be included in that. We have to be first in that. And that's why, like, the inner child healing work and stuff is so important. Because if we don't love ourselves genuinely, we can never love another person. And all of the work that we do out in the world will just, it won't be healthy, it won't be whole, it won't bear fruit. It will actually cause more chaos and pain and destruction. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Buddhist author, and he talks about this a lot as well. So much. He's beautiful, and he's a really good interfaith writer as well. He actually wrote a book called Living Buddha, Living Christ. It's fucking beautiful, man. It's one of my favorites, but he talks about this in so many of his works. It's like, if we're not clean first, if we're not stable and peaceful and loving, and we're out trying to save the world and do all this other kind of stuff, it's just going to bring chaos and disharmony at best, and total destruction at worst for us and others. We gotta love ourselves, man. We gotta dive deep. And it's the hardest fucking thing. It's the hardest thing when you were abused by your own parents, or abandoned, neglected, whatever it might be, all of the above. Just even neglect does damage as bad as or worse than physical and SA abuse with kids. Even if you don't consider the things that you went through to be like severely traumatic, man. So much the time our body blocks those memories out because survival. That's what it has to do to survive those things. But that pain lives on, dude. Our bodies don't forget. It's locked in there. Anyhow, I do love you guys. I hope you're having a good day, evening, wherever you're at. And big picture, it's true. You know, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Most of us found that out the hard way. But we have to, you know, we have to have self-compassion in this process. I think maybe this is what wanted to come through. To know that it wasn't our fault when this stuff happened, and if we acted unconsciously and hurt people, you know, inadvertently, we can forgive ourselves, we clean those things up and heal. But at some point, you know, we don't want to keep doing the same things or be getting mixed up with the same kinds of people. If you're around people that aren't on the healing path, man, it's going to turn out exactly the same way every other situation has with those kind of people, and that's just what it is. We can't expect other people to change because we want them to, because we love them, because we see promise, hope, potential, or whatever else. We gotta clean up our side of the street. We gotta heal, and you know, when we're in relationship with other people, we do need to have expectations and boundaries, and for things to be at a certain level. You know, in particular, if we're engaging with other people that are on the healing journey, that have been on that journey for a significant amount of time. You know, there are standards of behavior and communication that need to be met as a baseline. In my book, you know, you can do whatever you want, but I would say healthy relationships rest on a foundation of healthy communication, first of all, and that starts with ourself. You know, that starts with ourself and our internal dialogue. I was 32 right when I was saying that. I love the synchronicities, man. I love this spiritual journey, this path, even though it's fucking brutal a lot of times. I wouldn't trade it. I've been having lots more tears, dude. Lots more release. Just really celebrating my relationship with God, even as messy and fucked up as it has been, and as it is sometimes still today. It's the earth life, dude. It's the earth life. It's a massive fucking rebirth and reset. It's gonna be ugly and messy, just like physical birth. Well, that's not. I wouldn't say that's ugly. I mean, some people would say it is. It's the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced in my life. The most horrific situation, bar none. The year prior to that, it got a lot worse in the last 10 years since then. But that birth of my daughter, dude, I can't even fucking remotely describe like what that did to my fucking heart. It's something else. It's something else, man. Anyways, I love you guys. Hope you're doing good, or okay at least, hanging in there. Let me know if you need prayers, if you need anything, if you want to work with somebody that can help you walk through some of this shit.